Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alison McConnell, Lee McCulloch and Tam McManus here with me to look back over some of the stories of this week and of course look ahead to that crucial match, Cyprus against Scotland. Everybody is excited, looking and thinking to themselves, what do I need to pack in the bag for Germany, because the European Championships is very much within our grasp. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Lots to talk about. Here's what's coming up on the menu.
Steve Clarke believes a settled squad has been key to Scotland's success so far.
The run of results that we've had is a consequence of having that stability within the squad.
Andy Robertson warns it's not done until it's done as Scotland bid to seal Euro 2024 qualification.
Behind the scenes, I think the manager, me, all the experienced lads, it's not done until it's done.
Josh Doyle tips Liverpool starlet Ben Doak to spur Scotland's under-21s on against Spain.
Oh, it's good to have him in the team, and I think we'll be able to use him against Spain on Monday.
Hearts and Hibs banked £2 million each from Europe despite both clubs failing at the playoff stage.
Yeah, so lots to talk about on the programme. We'll maybe delve back towards what happened last week in the Scottish Premiership as well and get Lee's thoughts on his old club, Rangers, because they are dominating the headlines. But I think first and foremost, Cyprus against Scotland. Scotland suddenly are in a really good place, Lee, where, you know, your old mate Kenny Miller said he's envious of the current squad. Do you feel the same?
Definitely. I think you've got to be. The boys have done amazing. 4 wins out of 4, maximum points, sitting, well, perfect position. I think as a ex-player, you've got to be envious because it's something that's not happened for a long time.
You were close.
Anyway, we were close. Italy, was it?
Yeah.
Italy at home.
If there was VAR, you might have made it.
Might have made it, yes.
It was never, I think it was his name, Panucci. It was never a free kick, was it?
That was the biggest thing. And I remember the pressure going into the game, or feeling the pressure going into the game, and we stayed up at Cameron House and the bagpiper took us on to the coach. It was a special night, but we come up short. I should have scored 2 that game as well.
I didn't want to say that you'd let your country down.
Right before Barry scored his as well. That's what I remember most about that night.
Is that right? Do you go back as a player and think, oh, the one that got away? Yeah.
I did. Most don't, but I definitely did.
Yeah, but it was, again, with great similarity. I mean, I know, and we're guilty of it because we look at the hard, cold facts of the stats and you don't make it, but it was a squad that had, you know, a real club feel about it.
I think that's the most important thing with international football. All the boys were together. It was like a club dressing room. Everybody got on, there was no ego. And I think that's what the current squad are showing now under Steve Clarke's leadership. I think that's why they're getting all the success and they're in touching distance of getting there.
Yeah, and that's what the Scotland manager Steve Clarke said ahead of the game. Just that whole squad, the togetherness is why they're in the position they're in.
I think over the course of any campaign there's going to be squad rotation because people will pick up injuries, people will fall out of form, so there's always going to be squad rotations. The squad is pretty settled. It's something that we've tried to do for a number of camps now, is to have a very settled squad. I think the run of results that we've had is a consequence of having that stability within the squad.
Yeah, it's key to it all. It does have that club feel about it, Alison.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what you get when you've got continuity of selection. You're bringing in the same players, you get to know one another, get to understand one another's games. You're not always having to introduce and try and gel a new team, gel a new system. There's a very clear identity within that team, which I think helps. But I certainly think there's a camaraderie that comes across. They've been together for a long time. The nucleus of that side have been together for a while. They've obviously got the European Championships campaign that they can use, and I think that was probably important just to break the barrier of how long it had been since Scotland were last at a major tournament. I think it maybe alleviates a bit of the pressure of where they are now as they look to get back.
And that smooth transition to that club feel, then the results that followed on, Tam, it's down to, I think, also players and their commitment to the cause, because when Steve Clarke joined, I can remember sitting down with him and he was like looking for a centre half, wondering where he was going to get a right back, clamouring about for a striker, and then you had guys like Ryan Fraser, the boy Richie from Newcastle, first name has totally and utterly escaped me, who just withdrew from the squad and gave up playing international football. Suddenly you're getting people calling off, didn't want to be there, and he had to suddenly try and get through that and get people in and try and win them over.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans were disillusioned before Steve took over, and just when he first took over, I remember that one of the first games was Belgium at home. I think we got hammered 4-0 at Hampden, and there was hardly anyone there. So when I look at the progression from then until now, it's amazing, and that's still down to the manager. I think, as Lee and Ali said there, it's creating that atmosphere within the dressing room that people want to come. And there's nobody pulling out now. There's absolutely nobody pulling out of Scotland squads. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to be part of a successful team, wants to be part of a team that qualifies for big tournaments. So people are desperate to get in the squad. You see in the press now, people that don't get in, they're angry, they're disappointed that they're not in the squad, and that's came full circle from when Steve first took over, when, as you said, there was players that didn't want to be there. Fraser, for example, at Newcastle, pulled out and said he was injured, and then he was training with Newcastle, I think, the next couple of days. So I think he's created a real great mentality in that squad, and listen, the proof's in the pudding. The results have been fantastic, and I hope tonight that we can go one step further and all but guarantee qualification.
Matt Ritchie, it was bugging the life out of me. Yeah,
I was going to say Andy, but
I had to find out.
Paul just to wind you up.
To be fair, Andy Ritchie would have waltzed into many a Scotland squad. If anybody who's under the age of 40 wants to Google him, he was an unbelievable player. But as ever with this squad, there's a certain amount of togetherness, definitely, humility in abundance, and Andy Robertson, the captain, displays all that.
I think we've been quite clear on that message, behind the scenes. I think the manager, me, all the experienced lads, it's not done until it's done. We've been in this game long enough that, we don't get carried away with ourselves. We can let other people talk. It's good that our fans are believing that we're going to qualify for a major tournament. If they didn't believe that, then we would be doing something wrong. So it's good for them to believe. It's good for them to dream about going to Germany and watching us playing it. But I can guarantee that none of the lads in there are speaking about that.
Yeah, I mean that's a key element of it. It's not done till it's done.
That's a great interview. That sums Andy Robertson up for me. Feet in the ground, not getting carried away, and keeping the expectation levels as low as possible, although they're still through the roof. It's what a captain! What a captain! He's, in my opinion, he's had a lot of influence in that dressing room of keeping them together.
Yeah,
that's why the manager's got him so tight.
Yeah, and again, I mean, everybody's excited about it. I don't think there's have we moved on to DEFCON 1 as far as thinking about, getting the whole nation going crazy about it? We're hoping it's there, but we've been there before. We're Scottish, we can make an arse of this.
I think that would be a prevailing mood. I think people are encouraged, excited by what they've seen. I think the win over Spain, and particularly emboldens you as you go further into the campaign. But I think when you've had two generations are missing out at tournament after tournament, and I think it takes more than just one good start to a campaign to get overly excited. I think most people can see that it looks fantastic. If Scotland come away tonight with a win, I think then you can start to get excited and start to get your passport out. But up until I think tonight, and Scotland have a history of like going in and playing the smaller teams and maybe just not coming out with the kind of result that they would like.
Yeah, some former Scotland players have obviously got dressed as if they're going to Germany right away, but that's another matter. We'll just have to wait and see. As far as getting there and the permutations, Adam Binney explains it all.
Scotland face Cyprus tonight on matchday 5 of their UEFA Euro 2024 qualifying campaign. But Steve Clarke's side could have qualification for next summer's tournament confirmed as early as Tuesday night. Scotland are top of Group A on maximum points with 4 wins from their first 4 group matches for the first time in the nation's history. And there are 2 scenarios in which a place in Germany can be secured by Tuesday. Scenario 1 requires the following 3 results to go their way. Spain must beat Georgia in the early kick-off tonight. Scotland must then defeat Cyprus in Larnaca, then hope that Norway and Georgia play out a draw on Tuesday night. Confirmation of said qualification could reach Scotland during their friendly match at Hampden Park against England. Victory tonight would take Scotland to 15 points after 5 games, with the aforementioned results limiting Norway and Georgia to a maximum of 14, meaning that even if Andy Robertson and co were to lose their final 3 matches, they could not finish outside the group's top 2. Scenario 2 is less likely and requires 4 results to go in Scotland's favour. If Spain and Georgia draw and Scotland get their win over Cyprus, then Steve Clarke's men will again hope for a draw between Georgia and Norway on Tuesday, but would also need Cyprus to take at least a point off Spain. Although this means Georgia and Spain's maximum points tallies could take them above Scotland, the 2 teams will still need to play each other once more before the group's completion, meaning at least one side will drop points, taking them below Scotland's maximum tally of 15 points. So what do you think? Will Scotland have
what it takes? Yes.
We're winning it, Peter. What's all this nonsense? We're actually winning the Euros.
Oh, I know.
Qualifying.
It's he's given us so many different permutations there. Well done, Adam. But
You can see how people are trying to play it down, and then that's brilliant. It really is. That's tremendous.
It's got us as high as a kite, but nevertheless, I've done a few little niggly things that I think will annoy people. Elliot Anderson pulling out, I don't think he would have played a part. It maybe as a sub. Have we got too much to worry about there in the background?
You never know. I think until it's properly formalised and done, there'll always be a question mark. I think obviously the fact that he left the camp fairly abruptly and was injured always leads a question over whether or not he's maybe having second thoughts or whether he might be tempted elsewhere. But you're going to have to just wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Alison, you were out and about getting one of Lee's old teammates to give us his thoughts on it alongside Tom Boyd with Kenny Miller.
We're here outside Hampden this afternoon as former Scotland internationals Kenny Miller and Tom Boyd are looking ahead to this Friday night's European qualifier against Cyprus.
And former Scotland striker Miller has admitted that he'd love to be in the shoes of this current generation of Scotland players.
No, absolutely it is. It's a good place it's a good time to be involved with the national team. I think getting the monkey off the back a couple of years ago was a big thing, and it was wonderful to actually watch it. Yeah, you're looking on with envy that you would love to have played on that level and made that major tournament, but there's so many guys over like the course of my time as an international player that we all feel the same way. But as a fan and a Scotland fan, you're looking on, you want the team to do well, you want them to succeed, actually you want them to get there now and by the way, show their best performance, because they never quite probably hit the levels that they're capable of in the Euros the last time. So it's a chance for them to go and really kind of play on the stage that everybody wants to be playing it. So, but the short answer would be a little bit envious, yeah.
Tom Boyd says it's been a formidable start for this Scotland squad and knows we can't afford to underestimate Cyprus on Friday night.
There's always, I don't know if there's other players, that maybe my personality, there's always that wee bit of trepidation in terms of getting into games like this where we've had so many banana skins and we've slipped in quite a few occasions. I can recall obviously the World Cup in '98 when we played Morocco, thinking who were ranked higher than us at the time, but we we had a very good performance against Brazil. I had to bail Brazil out in that time. We had a very good performance against Norway, should have won the game, and we thought we'd continue that. By just turning, we didn't have them. And so there's so many examples of us being beat by the teams languishing near the bottom half of the table.
Don't forget to follow us across our PLZ Soccer's social media platforms and stay tuned for all the player and manager previews leading up to that one.
Magic. Ali always gets the plug in. That's what I love about you. You never forget it. It's
forget to subscribe.
By the way, no, I haven't. She hands the dinner over. She goes, Joseph, don't forget to subscribe, or you're not getting your sweet. It's as simple as that. Brilliant. Anyway, apart from anything else, listen. There is an air of confidence, but not, I think, over the top. We'll wait and see how it all goes, but let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Incidentally, the other game we can look forward to with the under-21s is Monday against Spain.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a pretty formidable test. I think for the under-21 side, I think they'll know they'll be going up against potential superstars in that side, some really good players, some top talents in that Spanish side. I think it might be an education for them. However, we said the same before Spain came to Hampden, that you feared the worst for the Scotland side. So I think you go out and give it your best shot, see what it takes you.
Yeah, Adam Binney's been following that under-21 squad, getting ready for that game on Monday.
Scotland under-21s begin their UEFA Euro 2025 qualification journey with an away fixture against Spain next week. But the squad have convened early here at the Oriam, Scotland's National Performance Centre, in advance of the big match. One of the more experienced members of this young squad is Hellas Verona fullback Josh Doig, who has his sights set on a return to the men's national A squad in time for Euro 2024.
Yeah, I think, for everyone that's the goal. We've seen boys do it. A lot of players have made that jump up. I've had a tiny wee taste of it, getting called up last time. So no, it's there. It's like it's dangling in front of you. You just need to keep pushing, and eventually, hopefully, it'll come. But that's definitely the goal at the end of it.
Doig is joined in the under-21 squad by one of the most exciting prospects in Scottish football. It's of course Ben Doak. The Liverpool youngster has impressed, making substitute appearances in the Premier League for Jurgen Klopp's side, and it's a player that the former Hibs fullback was full of praise for.
Wee Doak's, he's mental, man. He's funny. No, but I think we all love him. He's obviously a lot to talk about him just now, being within the Liverpool squad, and I've spoke to him. You just want to know what it's like, what's going on, what are players like, this and that. But he's just a normal wee boy. Yeah. He's down in digs down there, and he's just living his life. He's happy enough. But he's a good wee player. It's difficult for me because he's so small. I can't get a hand on him. But no, it's good to have him in the team, and I think we'll be able to use him against Spain on Monday.
It's good times for Scotland because you can see the bonus of players not only playing in England but playing abroad as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, you look at Ben Doak, obviously very close, I think, to getting in the full squad. I think it will come. Hopefully Scotland win tonight and they're all but qualified, and I think you would see Ben Doak definitely getting a run out in the next couple of games. So you've got him, you've got Josh Doig, who's playing in Serie A. So all of a sudden you've got players who are playing at a high level. Ben Doak's playing at the highest level in England. So no, I think that when I looked at the under-21 squad, there's a lot of names in there that's playing a lot of first team football. I think that's important, rather than boys at Celtic and Rangers or down south and no playing. A lot of them are playing first team football, and that can only help.
Yeah. They've got to be aiming for a chance to go to the Euros if the first team get there.
Yeah.
And that's how the importance of Monday night's game and the rest of the games come in, because if there's injury or whatever might happen, they might be the next ones called up.
Did you play for the under-21s?
Yes.
On a regular basis?
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't. Don't worry. You're not on trial. I just wanted to know.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, one of your old teammates, Stephen Fletcher's signed for Wrexham until the end of the season. That's a good signing for them.
A great signing for Wrexham. Yes, it's a good one for him. Good opportunity. So let's see how he does.
Yeah, 50 grand a week in a movie deal. He's in Deadpool 5. A fantastic place to be, the focus on them. And it was good to see Kenny Miller there as well. He's on a cooking show tonight, right throughout the night. Is there anything Kenny's not doing, by the way? I mean, I expect him to read the 6 o'clock news at one point. He's on everything, isn't he? He's unbelievable.
Really ubiquitous.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a journalist's way of avoiding saying, I know he's really doing my head in. But the checks just keep rolling in, Lee. As you know, brilliant. Great to see Kenny doing well. Absolutely top bloke. And listen, we might as well, we've talked about international football, but we might as well get your thoughts on last week, because the fallout from it has been incredible. There's a real groundswell, and I'm not sure. I always go back to what Gordon Strachan said, when I used to work for Radio Clyde, and he said to me, wait a minute, he says, if two people phone in Radio Clyde and tell you I'm an idiot, now I've paraphrased that into something, right? He says, does that mean I'm an idiot? So he's talking about the percentage game here. Is there a groundswell of people on what I would say are not so intelligent fanzines and forums that want him out, and the more sensible people are saying, well, wait a minute, it's 4 games in, Guy's piece, Michael Beale needs to be given time with his team? Or do you think he's on the edge of a cliff?
I don't think he's on the edge of a cliff. I do think it's early days. But that's the beauty of managing or sometimes playing with a big club. Comes demand, and you need to win games. The game itself didn't go the way he wanted it to go. if it was the other way, and let's say Rangers won that 1-0, would Brendan Rodgers be getting the same? Yes or no? What do you think? Would it be the same?
I don't think quite as much, but
I think
still
he'd
would
be
be under pressure.
pressure.
I think he only is
What kind of pressure would he be under?
Well, he would have,
Seriously?
I don't think he'd have been talking about his job.
He's he was,
Yeah, he
you know,
wouldn't have been talking about his job in the way that people have been talking about Michael Beale's, but I think he would have been under pressure.
I think the Celtic board would be under more pressure than Brendan.
Well, absolutely.
More fingers pointed at them in terms of backing them.
I don't think he would have been. I'll tell you why I don't think he would have been under as much pressure. Is because, as you mentioned at the start, and it was only an opinion from you at the start when you first joined us, the Old Firm games are going to be the determining factor.
Yeah.
Well, quite clearly they're not. So it's a long marathon, and Brendan Rodgers, as I've mentioned to you before, is a top coach. You can have your opinion about him leaving Celtic, him coming back, but he's a top coach against an inexperienced manager. Doesn't matter what way you look at it. He's an inexperienced manager who had 22 games at Queen's Park Rangers, comes back with a manager who's been sacked. So they give him time to get a few players into the team and then sign his own players. At that point, you're saying to yourself, right, now you've got a coach, but you're coaching against a team who've got 50 million in the bank, who can outspend you right now, and you've got to beat an experienced coach like Brendan Rodgers. It's a tall order, and I did mention in the summer, if he's behind Celtic in the league and he's out of the Champions League group stages, they'll be calling for his head. I didn't think it was going to be this quick.
Yeah, I think you're always going to get sections of the fans. You mentioned like the keyboard warriors, whatever. That's just part and parcel, and they can be loud at times. They can be loud when you don't get a result. And probably the worst week of a player or manager, and Lenny spoke about this as well, is see after the Old Firm when you get beat. It's a terrible time, obviously going into the international break that we're at just now. So you've got that time to take all the stick before you put it right again. The game didn't go the way he wanted to go. I thought Rangers, probably Celtic could have got another couple of goals. I don't know where I stand on Roofe's goal yet.
Why not?
Because when a Celtic player goes to kick it and Roofe plants his foot in between the ball and his foot, arguably it's a foul, but when I was watching it I didn't think it was a foul, and then when I watched it back I didn't think it was a foul. So I've not just got my tinted sunglasses on, but I think maybe by the letter of the law it is a foul, but I might stand corrected on that.
Can I ask you this? I don't want to prolong the whole thing on it because everybody's had their tuffins worth. If you're in any other part of the we haven't spoken to you, Tam and I have talked about it, Ali, ad nauseum. If you're in any other part of the pitch, and I've seen it elsewhere, down in England as well, and right across Europe, if you have got a chance inside the penalty box sometimes, and the player's going to kick the ball away, but somehow you nick in front of him and he doesn't see you, and he's gone to clear the ball, but he catches you, they've awarded a penalty. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Just because he got his foot in there, I looked at it and I thought he's dallied on the ball, he's then going to kick it, but the other player has gone in there to get it off him. Now the key element was Bobby Madden saying he's not in control of the ball at that point. That's why it was a foul. But I look at anybody else, and I've witnessed penalties being given for the player getting in. He looks as if he's going to kick it away. Somebody's nicked in front of him and he takes him out, penalty. Or a free kick elsewhere in the park. Now, the only thing that I would say is, you're right, it is the law, great, there's your foul. I thought it was poor, I thought Rangers' goal should have stood. My only point on this is, let's see the consistency. Let's see you come up with the same result for the next 5 or 6 weeks, because everybody will be like that. Everybody's got the binoculars out, the microscope, you name it, the keyboard warriors will be all over it.
That's what we've been calling for years and years and years, the consistency of the referees, and we thought maybe VAR would bring that in, and well, let's see if, as you say, let's see in the next couple of weeks if it happens, if that sort of foul is given in a game then. And
just one little thing before I throw it open to everybody on a point that Michael Beale raised is, were you surprised, you of all people, because of the type of player you are, and this is not a negative slant on you as a player, But if I look at games that you played in the Old Firm, when you're alongside Barry and you've got other quality midfielders along with you, Callum McGregor bossed the game. I mean, surely after a shorter period of time, the manager must have said, this guy can get the ball out anywhere. He's dictating the play. There was nobody there to do a Lee McCulloch, which is basically get in, be physical, rummel them up, and of course make sure that they're not allowed to play, because the great qualities that you would have had, and our other pundit Neil Lennon and Paul Lambert, who we spoke to this week, is if they're playing well, go out of your way to stop them playing well.
I think that the biggest compliment you can give is to Callum McGregor, and what a top class player he is. I think it's easy to say, right, go and man mark him, let's say, but then he starts drifting over the pitch and he's taken. It's really hard to do, and I think the wrong thing to do would have been put somebody on him, because he's that good to want to touch, ruin him, lose him, or he can drag the person way out of position. So I think it's the guy's a top class player.
I thought Rangers just gave him too much space, especially in the first half. He just had acres.
Good players get space, don't they?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but good managers make decisions to change games. If he's getting too much space, you turn around and you say to somebody, listen, see that role I gave you beforehand? I mean, how many times would Walter Smith have looked at a game that wasn't going according to plan and said, hey, see that thing I told you before you walked out? Forget it. Go and cement him. And I don't mean cement Callum McGregor, but it's along those lines. Do you follow me?
What I would say is players maybe don't want to sacrifice themselves to do that, in terms of a manager says to me, I remember Bobby Wilson said to me, Arteta for Rangers, Arteta and Barry Ferguson were two centre midfield players.
Good luck.
And I was playing off.
What did he say on the best?
Right? And he said to me, I think it was me and Mixie or me and Craig Brewster, but I can't remember. He said to me, drop in when we've not got the ball onto one of them. Don't let them get the ball. Right? And I just couldn't, because as soon as I dropped in, one of them moved, shifted, and the other one to get the ball. And I was just ended up hurling a kick that sacrificed myself trying to do a job for the team. So maybe your Dessers or Roofe didn't want to do it.
You've also got the scenario where if you're picking out a player, and they didn't do this, but if you're picking out a player to say, right, you're 1v1, you're on Callum McGregor, and he runs the show like he done, doesn't make yourself look good. So you get players that don't actually want to go and against a better player.
Listen, I love that.
That's what you get.
I love that point, but I wouldn't like them in the team, would you?
Modern day, I'm not saying that happened, but that's like I've experienced that in my coaching career.
Well, see, when you watch the game,
close to people.
But when you watch the game, what did you look and say?
Callum McGregor.
That's the first
was
one.
dominating the game in the middle of the pitch. But it's what do you do?
I think you need a certain type of player to do it. I think you need that.
Raskin's had a wee bit.
I think Cammy Devlin or
sitting deep.
Cammy Devlin or somebody would do that. I remember a wee boy Billy McDonald at Partick Thistle done it with Gascoigne. Something like that. I don't know. The only one I can remember maybe doing it.
Billy McDonald. I think he might have had a couple of cameos made of. As I would have had him in his pocket, by the way. Can you imagine Gascoigne in that game? I mean, by the way, that was a rotten game.
It wasn't the. Sometimes the Old Firm games are rotten, and I thought, going back to the old debate, it'd have been better if there was some Celtic fans there as well. We got this put to bed. But listen, if that's it for the season, just need to deal with it. But there's a long way to go this season, and momentum can swing as quickly in either way. And
so the overall point for you then is he stays, but for how long?
He's got to stay. Michael Beale's got to stay for me, and again, not through the tinted glasses. He's worked pre-season. He's at the end of last season. He's worked pre-season. When players come in, signings for the Old Firm, there was a saying back then, I'm sure it was Coisty, it says that never judge a player until the 6 month period, because they can come in and they can be flying and then they can hit a dip and go right down, or they can start slow and then come good. Mark Hateley, when he came to Rangers, was very poor at the start, if you remember. And then all of a sudden he came from nowhere. So I think I'll go by that saying it's like 6 months, but But by the way, you're probably not even getting 6 months now.
I'm not getting 6 months.
6 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, listen, I take that point of view. Do you think, and you said you haven't got your tinted glasses on, I'm going to test you here before I get to Ali on this next point, which is quite simply, if you'd watched that and you'd watched Celtic give them a doing, do you think you would have, and you've watched and you saw no signs, if it had been a side that had been together 6 months ago that he'd built, would you have been able to look at it and say, it's just not working? Would you have been able to do that?
No.
No,
I think
only because there's a coach's and a manager's code sometimes where you look at it and you go, okay, I don't want to have a go at him, but there is a point coming, and I'm not saying it's a tester for you or anybody else who had it. There is a point coming where we'll be sitting in this chair and he'll be adrift,
or he might be not be adrift.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Well, my point to you is, do you have to look sometimes and say, nah, I'm sorry?
Well, that'll come later on in the season. Of course, results will dictate when that time comes, or when the noises start getting louder and louder and louder, and people need to listen. But for me, as it stands, no, absolutely not. It's one Old Firm game into the season. He's lost it. He's lost the game. So it's just, he needs to win his next game. That's a big thing for me, and so does Rodgers. And the other aspect of it, I think we will find out very shortly, is we'll find out also the strength of this Rangers board, because if they start listening to a fan base that suddenly starts this get him out, we've been talking about boards that need to show resilience, boards that need to invest in someone and have a vision and have a clear plan. Well, I think that's about to be tested. We're about to see the mettle of John Bennett.
I thought there was a really interesting comment actually after the game on Sunday when Michael Beale referenced the finances, when he mentioned it's nowhere near this figure. I thought that was very, very interesting, because for me that's kind of taking a pop at your board about what's been done over the summer.
You say that, Ali, and that was the point I was just about to make to you, because there is a group called the Rangers Review, which is apparently an official club partner. They've released a report detailing the figures for the signings and saying they were accurate. Danilo, 5.5 million, rising to 6.5 million with add-ons. Dessers, 4.5 million. Lammers, 3.5 million. Cifuentes, 1 million. And of course, the sales of Kemar to Leeds, 5.5 million, 3 million for Sakala. Rangers have a net spend of around £6 million. So, somewhere along the line, somebody's telling porkies.
And the very fact that the Rangers Review, a club partner, feels that they should be putting that out today tells you that that direction is coming from somewhere, that they've been asked to distribute these figures for clarity in the aftermath of what we've seen. So for me, I think that would point to a few question marks for me between Michael and the board.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because at the end of the day, everybody might be arguing over, it's 2 million above what it really is. Who cares? You bought them, regardless of what they are. There's 9 or 10 players who've been brought in. It's your team. Deliver the results.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of excitement at the start of the season with Rangers actually spending money. Signing the guys for £4, £5, £6 million. It's been a long time since that's happened at Rangers Football Club, and I think there was a lot of excitement amongst the supporters seeing these guys come in, particularly Danilo. Won the Dutch League last season, and I think the fact that he was on the bench and Lammers on the bench, I think that was why the question was asked at the end of the game. Rangers supporters are coming away for that game. They're not daft. Why are we playing? I spoke about it on Monday. Why are we playing Matondo, who was out the picture last season? And Roofe, who's been injured for 16 months. And just get £10 million worth of players sitting on the bench.
It's not an insubstantial amount of money.
It's massive money for Rangers, that is, Peter. And these guys have got to come in and play and be the best players in the team.
Devil's advocate, new signings haven't played an Old Firm game yet, so maybe.
Think he went with the tried and tested?
Maybe. I don't know.
But the tried and tested failed last season.
But Matondo didn't play last season.
I also think if you're spending that kind of money, you're bringing in players that are unfazed. In fact, if anything, you should play in an atmosphere in a game with that kind of tension. With all due respect to other teams in the league, this is where the league can so often be won and lost.
But Brendan Rodgers played one guy from the signings. One signing played in that game. You know, admittedly he's got a treble-winning side, which some people have forgotten. He's inherited a treble-winning team.
But see, you've come into a winning team. You've not come in with massive surgery to do, or coming in and having to change a winning formula. The foundations were already there for Celtic. I would appreciate the point that, you know, the same thing, that you've got a couple of players there that you would have expected maybe to make demands on the first team, that you would expect will make demands on the first team as the season continues. But I think if you're spending £5 and £6 million on a player and then not playing them in a game of that magnitude because you think
that's why they signed them for Old Firm games in Europe.
Yeah, another thing about it as well, you're now looking at it and, you know, we're wondering what time scale he's got. The next Old Firm game's not till December 30th.
And it'll be at Celtic Park when no fans
it's at Celtic Park. But my point on this, and this is just my own opinion on it, is, you know, if he loses or draws another domestic game, I think the clamour will be too much for him. You know, I don't think at this moment I see signs of them having a great European run. I'm there to be proved wrong, but I think the league domestically, Rangers fans, the noise will become unbearable if he starts dropping points to other clubs, and I think they'll look more than capable of doing that.
Yeah, listen, I think that Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts are capable of taking points from Kemar already this season. You know, given the Old Firm of bloody nose. So, listen, I think he's got time now. I think the group was okay in terms of Europe. I don't think there's teams in there that are going to be massively frightened of getting a tanking. I think they'll be competitive in every game. So I think he's got a chance there to build some confidence. And as you said, it's December 30th for the next Old Firm game. He's got a clear run, you know, to pick up points at home, domestically, and keep the pressure on Celtic. But you're right. If he drops points, then if he goes 7, 8, 10 points behind Celtic, then he's going to be under severe pressure, and he'll probably lose his job. But I think Rangers will get better. I think Celtic will get better. I think Celtic will get better. They've got good players to come in. But I can see Rangers players settling in and getting better as well, to be honest.
Yeah. I think the real frustration for Rangers fans on Sunday would have been that the perception was that was a Celtic team there for the taking. Yeah. Underperforming, out of the League Cup, never scored a goal at home to St Johnstone without their recognised central defensive pairing. I think before the game you would have looked at that team line-up and thought, this will be Rangers' day. And I think so much the frustration would have stemmed from being unable to manipulate that to their advantage.
Interesting you saying that. I was just looking at the whole thing and wondering to myself, you know, as we look at the table right now with Celtic 4 points ahead of Rangers, and if you look at the table from last season and how it finished, Celtic won it by 7 points from Rangers in second position. I'm going to stick my neck out in here and say Celtic will have 10 points to spare unless something dramatic happens. I cannot see past an experienced coach like Brendan Rodgers. The one thing that I can see changing is he would need to bankroll him again in January if he's still there, which I don't believe he will be. It's a hard call, but I'm looking at the thing and I'm saying to myself, can he beat Brendan Rodgers? And Brendan Rodgers, experienced coach, I don't see it, and I certainly don't see it in the squad he has at the moment.
Yeah, and I think Celtic are in a very solid financial footing in position too, that if there was any ambiguity about the title or any question marks when you go into that January transfer window, that you know you can go and bring in reinforcements, you can go and reinvest into the squad. I have to say, I think both have underperformed in the opening weeks of the campaign. I think Celtic look weaker than what they did from the team who ended the season, but the confidence that comes and the psychology around winning that first game is huge. I don't think you can underestimate it, and I think what it does is it just gives you a full injection of belief. It takes any pressure around the club off entirely, and the converse of that is that for the team who's on the losing side, it magnifies any issues that are there.
Rangers only lost 4 games the whole last season in the league.
Yeah,
and they've lost 2 in the first 4, so it doesn't leave a lot of margin of error.
You can see where the noise is coming from. It's crystal clear, but Ali makes a great point about Celtic have not started the way Celtic have been playing, let's put it that way. Now, they've got a campaign coming up as well. Yes, it's 4 points now, but that can change. Rangers need to start taking maximum points domestically and go on a good run in Europe. That's what I believe. That's what the fans expect. That's what's expected when you're at that club.
Have you seen signs they're capable?
I think it's too early.
Too early.
I think it's too early because, and I'm no dodging the question, I think if you go to Celtic, I think it's the same. It's too early. None of them hit the ground running this season in the league, have they?
No.
So, I just think over the course of the season, you're going to have dips. Maybe Rangers and Celtic are having their dip just now, but one's a bigger dip than the other.
Yeah.
But I think I agree as well with Tam that they'll both get better.
The other great thing about it on the show, and you're only in the embryonic stages of joining it, is remember.
Good words today. Some great words.
It really is.
Vicus.
As we.
Brilliant. I'm loving this.
Tam thinks,
Education.
Tam thinks that's a pub in Ashton Lane. But what I was going to say to you, what happens usually, eventually as the months pass, we start giving each other condescending looks as if to say, I told you, and then there's the big silence as you say, is he going or is he staying? And you can always tell the people who get frightened about it all. But last year, I wish you were here because last year he was like a roller coaster. Sack him, keep him, you've got to sack him. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable. Listen, a really positive piece of news is, of course, money that Hearts and Hibs have managed to bank. It's positive in one way. It's infuriating and frustrating for me because I wanted Hearts and Hibs to bank much, much more. But they look as if with TV money, ticket revenue, and of course the money from UEFA, it's £2 million each, which can't be sniffed at.
No, but it does feel a bit like what might have been. You think if you had got through there, the riches that can be an offer when you draw a tie that pulls in TV money and substantial ticket sales. So I think they will feel as though just what might have been in that sense. But yeah, I think in the current climate and the current financial position that Scottish football's in, I think £2 million, it can be the difference between bringing in a player or two in January and strengthening the squad again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that point, what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the £2 million for Hibs. That'll pay off the last 3 managers.
Well, there needs to be a bit of stability on that. I mean, they are going to interview 4 or 5 candidates for it, and I don't know about you, but never mind keyboard warriors, if you start listening to the people who are taking flyers on it, Nick Montgomery's got the job, Lennon's got it, no he hasn't, it changes. Hibs will interview 5 candidates, Ali, and then we just wait and see which one they think has got the ability to take them forward, because as ever with managers, you can go into an interview, Lee, and suddenly sway people with your vision.
Of course you can. I know it's getting into a room and selling yourself. That's basically what they're asked to do, and some can do it better than others. And the ones that can do it sometimes doesn't make them a good manager.
Just gets them the opportunity.
Yes, and some of them are good in the laptops and all the rest of it. But I think Hibs need tried, tested, somebody that knows the league, somebody that's successful and been successful, and for me it's Lenny.
Yeah. And what about Stevie Naismith? He's now out and out the head coach after the debacle of Europe and trying to put up this front.
Blame that on Frankie McAvoy now.
Well, I was going to say
Frankie's fault. He's the manager.
Exactly. But
if I was lazy, that's what I would. I think.
Did you see signs of him that you think, he's got good ideas?
I think he's a good coach. He was in the B team and we were there. He has got good ideas. I think everybody knew the situation where, for me, it was Naisy still calling the shots and naming the team, and maybe behind the door, the dressing room door, he was the one that addressed the players first. So Frankie seems to be happy with coming away from that role that he was in, because they're not in Europe anymore, and I hope Naisy does well. And I think the biggest positive coming out of this is there's not going to be European football. Take the money and then look for third place, because the board will want and need third place this season, and I think with no European football gives them a much better chance, and I'd like to see the wee man succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. Another one of our ex-pundits for a long while. Thoroughly enjoyed seeing his different rooms in his house during COVID, just to see if to see if he'd one of those big memorabilia rooms, you know. But there was a couple of things on there that looked all right.
Was it better than my B&M picture that I had behind me?
Yours was
$9.99.
Yeah, so I knew it was well. To be fair, it's £9 more than I thought it was. But you could always tell in COVID, because Tam's wife, who clearly calls the shots in the house, she had the whole thing decorated so that he just sat behind a photograph. Sometimes flowers, sometimes just to make it look as if it was really, you know, a lovely house. But
you can change your background on Zoom, no, can't you?
You can't. That's too technical for him, by the way. But you don't get a signal in the caravan that he's in. So, what about yourself? Have you got it? Have you got a man cave?
Yes, I've got a bar. Yeah.
And what's your most treasured stuff that you think, great, framed, never forget it?
Oh no, I used to have strips up and then I ripped them all down.
Oh, did you?
I took everything down.
Wow, under a wee bit of pressure.
What I was having was, well, Zota out, and then I said, right, come back to my bit, and you come back, and it's like bringing everybody into the shrine, and I was a wee bit embarrassed about it.
Oh, right.
So I took all my strips down and put them in the cupboard.
Wow.
I'm the complete opposite. I want people to come in to see my strips.
So they come back for a beer and they're going to go, oh, that's amazing. I'm thinking, they think I want them back here to try and show off.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like
that.
Wow.
There's no shyness in that side of the bench.
I've just got to ask you one question, and again, I'm appealing for your honesty here. You said you took them down, but were you under pressure basically from your better half who said, listen, it's just not happening?
Do you know what she says? She says to me, keep them up.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, and I had to take them down.
Oh,
so,
I don't know about you, Ali, but nothing would have been, I don't know, nothing's better than somebody come in and seeing, you know, a bit of the memorabilia, the great games that he played in, you know, as well.
Obviously very modest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look at your man. Absolutely.
I felt it myself.
I know.
I just heard that.
In fact, exactly. One bit of, I don't know if it's good news. It could lead to good news. You know, Livingston possibly, you know, some American, you know, investors. I think they'll need something to try. You know, they've just under £1 million that they lost. It's a strange business model, Livingston. I think the success of Livingston is built entirely on trying to sell a player because there's no fan base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and I think you saw that. I think you've heard David Martindale speak about it.
Just because you speak about nobly. 700 times. Do
you know what? At one point, by the way, when I was in negotiations at the start of the season, I was putting the team together. I thought, should I bid for Nubly just to take the heat off him?
I think you can tell, like, by those kind of comments, how much they need to do. And they've spoken before about how difficult it is to attract season ticket holders or to sell tickets and bring people in and keep them in once they get them in. I think they probably do need some kind of investment. What that means and what the consequences might be for the current structure is an interesting question.
See, they lost 600 or something grand last year. Livingston, I mean, if they ever get relegated from that, you had the figure there, was it more than that, 819 grand before tax? If Livingston ever actually get relegated, they're, I don't know whether, they'll go bust. I mean, you look at Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, bringing thousands of fans.
I know.
Yeah, but
imagine without that money.
But David will tell you, there's not many people on 2 and 3 year deals at Livingston. You know, you've got youngsters and then you've got some that are on 2 and 3 year deals, but they're not on huge wages. You know, if he broke £1,500 a week, I'd be amazed. And even then, he's got some on Nubly's on a final year where he's saying, I've got to cash in him. I understand where he's coming from. And I'm not ridiculing David because I've got a lot of time for him and I really do admire him.
What a top manager he is.
What a job he's done.
And a shoestring budget. And was it the season before last they lost it in the top 6 with that
last minute Motherwell?
Yeah,
that's right.
At Motherwell. So that, since back then, that must have been eating away at the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, you know, we've talked about Scottish issues, international, domestic. Globally, an interesting one with the Jota situation, because they're talking about it now that they've signed that many foreign players. that he could be punted out on loan. They're just not going to be able to play in the league games. It's a strange situation where I wonder if FIFA should be looking at the whole situation and saying, listen, if you sign your 8 players, that's your 8 players.
Yeah, I think it's pretty baffling from an outsider's point of view when we're not really privy to what's going on or what it means for him. This chat now has revolved around him for the last 2 or 3 weeks about what was happening. It's a strange situation to pay all that money for him. He's not going to feature, he's out in the cold. You feel a bit for the boy. I mean, he'd be laughing all the way to the bank,
yeah.
But he's there to play football. He's a young man, he's at an early stage in his senior career. He'll want to be playing. I think he'll feel really frustrated about what's going on and what it means for him. Does he go out on loan? Does he stay and play in some of these games? I think it's an incredibly odd situation.
It is an odd situation, but such is the way life has changed now. Jota will be sitting there and his agent will be saying to him, listen, you know, sit tight, doesn't matter what happens, you'll still be on £120,000-130,000 a week. It doesn't matter where they go. If they want to shunt you out, they'll be paying your wages.
That's what the agent will be saying. That's the broader way to look at things. But as Ali says, he'll just want to play football.
Yeah.
You can have all the money in the world, you still want to run about and play football and kick the ball and score goals.
The cards are stacked for him. It's all in his favour. It's all in his favour, isn't it?
Yes, I think
if he sits tight for the next
window opens, then I think the club will need to maybe look to get rid of him.
I know it's Brendan Rodgers defending Jordan Henderson on his move to Saudi Arabia. You couldn't get banned any longer than we're banned, Tam. It doesn't matter. But he has...
I'm alright, but I don't want to get banned.
Exactly. I know. I've never seen so many people frown at me in the office at the moment. Nobody likes me. I'm just handing out raffle tickets. Here you are. Don't worry about it. But that's what happens when you've got an opinion. But Brendan Rodgers did say, you know, it's morality officers who are judging him for the move. Well, I don't know who's casting any aspersions on Jordan Henderson, because quite simply, there's no... I know Gordon's striking the odd time here and there, but he hits the nail on the head. I never look to a footballer to lead by example or be high on the morals, you know, and try and teach people the integrity in sport. There's no sporting integrity.
I have to say, I did have a chuckle when I read the interview, the Jordan Henderson interview, and he said he's not there for the money.
Yes, absolutely.
With a straight face.
Yes. It's a nonsense. But one thing that Brendan Rodgers did say is Saudi is dangerous because they not only have money but they've got a plan, and we've talked about that plan, you know, so it could create that huge imbalance, you know, and of course continue the hypocrisy from down south that people are stealing their best players. Yeah,
and obviously it's the situation just now in Saudi Arabia is a microcosm of what's been going on in the English Premiership for the last decade too. So there is an element of hypocrisy in the criticism that's levelled to it. However, I do think when you get situations like the Jota one that you're seeing just now, it kind of makes a mockery of the transfer window and the system when you're spending all that money on players and then they disappear. And it should be aligned with the rest of the world football. Yeah. I think so. Just if your transfer window closes here, everybody else's has to. Okay, this is something that we can all offer a personal opinion on, because we love the joy of football and the Ballon d'Or. Who's going to win it? Here's the list of them all: Andre Onana, Josko Gvardiol, Karim Benzema, Jamal Musiala, Mohamed Salah, Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Kevin De Bruyne, Randall Mwani, Bernardo Silva, Emilio Martinez, Ruben Diaz, and that's Klavitia Kvaratskhelia. Well, it's not the pronunciation, it's actually trying to see it. Nicolo Barella, Erling Haaland, and Yassin Bunu, Martin Odegaard, Julian Alvarez, Ilkay Gundogan, Vinicius Junior, Lionel Messi, Rodri, Lautaro Martinez, Antoine Griezmann, Robert Lewandowski, Kylian Mbappe, Kim Min-jae, Victor Osimhen, Harry Kane, and Luka Modric. There's the list.
Well done.
Who gets it?
Messi for the World Cup.
Is this 2023? Is this
the whole year?
Aye, 2023. The previous year.
Aye.
Yeah. Messi for you?
Yes.
No debate?
Nope.
Well, Haaland got the UEFA award. So where's your money, Ali?
Messi.
Messi, just for the World Cup.
Haaland treble, sorry.
You going for Haaland?
No, I went for Messi, but I'm just giving you the...
Yeah, the treble. I love that.
I think Haaland might be his main competitor for it, but for me it's Messi.
That was my point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he has won the treble. He's scored some amount of goals. Interestingly enough, it's the first time that Cristiano Ronaldo has not been included. And also, Cristiano Ronaldo's come out and said, the whole, battle between the two of them is now finally over. There's no, he's done this, I've done that. It's finally over because they're no longer in the most competitive leagues. They're no longer winning the ultimate, what I would call, the European awards. Cristiano Ronaldo's in Saudi Arabia and playing for Inter Miami. With all due respect, Messi could have the cigars out there and every now and then go into a light jog and still be the best player in that league.
Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo, I'd have loved for somebody to ask him the question, so if it's over, have you won or lost? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, you know what? And I'll tell you, a lot of people maybe don't like me for this line, but I think history will actually shine a light and a positive light on Cristiano Ronaldo's contribution. A lot of people don't like him because they have this sense of arrogance, showman, at times, he can be, theatrical, but in contrast to Messi, who has this humility and acts with dignity and doesn't certainly get involved in sitting down with Piers Morgans of the world. There's people who like the image and what's projected and the PR spin on it. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo will be looked upon as one of the top 5 players of all time. That boy has worked hard at his craft, and regardless of what we call this, perception of him, the reality, if you look at his stats, they are incredible.
He's a phenomenon, or has been, and arguably still is. I think what a role model when you look at where he's came from, and he talks about it in his life to where he is now, and it's through hard work and dedication. That's what he puts it down to, and practicing every day when he was a young boy at training. And I think it's brilliant for kids to aspire to get that. Shows you he's obviously got natural ability in there as well. What a football player, athlete, everything. I don't care about the arrogant, so-called arrogant side. Messi's got to have a little bit about him in that front as well, for the way he plays on the pitch as well. But 2 unbelievable world class, and I think yes, top 5 easy.
Yeah, that both of them are Messi's all-time goal scoring record at Barcelona, and Ronaldo's got the all-time goal scoring record at Real Madrid, and both coming through at the same time. I don't think you'll ever see 2 players dominate European football like they 2 have ever again.
Yeah, I agree with you, Talon. And
records won't be broken. I think in this day and age, they'll stand forever.
Lee's point, though, who wins the overall battle, if you want to call it that? Yes, we celebrate both of them, and we've acknowledged that. I think Messi wins it, but boy, did he run him close.
Yeah, he did it. Listen, I think Messi's an actually more gifted player, but as Lee said there, Cristiano Ronaldo has worked his backside off to get better at everything, get quicker, get stronger, get leaner. Everything he's done has been hard work. I'm not saying Messi's not worked hard as well, but I think Messi's got more of that natural talent.
Yeah. And Messi's always played a 10. Ronaldo moved from being a 7 to a 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another point. And the 2 of them, obviously, played at the highest level. The only thing is, Ronaldo managed to do it at 3 clubs at the highest level.
Different leagues. I think Messi stayed there a long time, didn't he, Barca?
Debate this.
That's great, isn't it? Fantastic. But I think it's right to highlight those things.
Yeah.
So you're still Messi, but do you acknowledge Ronaldo's?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with Tam. I think you should just celebrate the fact that you had 2 world-class talents playing at the same time and entertaining people across more than a decade. The 2 of them utterly dedicated to their craft and their work. I think you couldn't. They almost epitomise the modern day player in terms of the full commitment that you need. I think if you go back to previous generations, we all liked the lovable rogues and what they might have got up to off the pitch and all the other antics that made them flawed characters, which is why people love Maradona and everything. But when you look at Ronaldo and Messi, they've barely put a foot wrong off the park too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sure people will contest that last line there, but nevertheless, we'll all go for Messi as the overall Ballon d'Or winner. Whether it happens or not, who knows? Can you believe we're finishing the programme? We're all in agreement with each other. It's unbelievable. Okay, thanks to Alison, thanks to Lee, and also to Tam McManus, and from myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget, still out there, Sanjeev Kohli in our Straight Talk is well worth watching. We don't have the live programme tomorrow because obviously international football has dominated and there's not really any games worth talking about, but we will be back on Monday with Neil Lennon, and contrary to popular opinion, what you see on some of the trash newspapers and social media didn't happen. It's all made up. I thought I'd say that for Lee and for Lenny in case the debate rages on over the weekend. Apart from that, from all of us here, thanks for watching.